Hey, everybody, welcome to the Blacklist, the show where we interview the elite. Today we have James, and we're going to talk a lot about his story, about what he does, and a ton of things that revolve around credit. So, James, for most people that have, this is the first time on the show, they probably have never seen you before. Who is James and what does he do?
Yeah, man. First and foremost, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is James Jiang. I own a credit repair company, and I also do e-commerce automation in efforts to help people make passive income and develop financial freedom.
Which one did you first get started in? Was it the credit or was it the ecom?
It was credit in the beginning,
Yeah.
and it kind of just like snowballed into the e-com.
I feel like normally it kind of does because in e-commerce, you kind of need and this is you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you need you need funding at first to be able to for the ads or for the inventory or for things like that. Is that
Yep.
the case?
Yes, absolutely. So it kind of started off where I started fixing people's credit because it's a big problem here in America. Everybody needs credit for anything.
Yeah.
You want to get an auto loan, you want to get a mortgage, et cetera, et cetera. And then I stumbled across e-commerce automation. Kind of had like my own stores going on, and I was like, why don't I help other people do the same thing and make that passive income? So what happened was a lot of people who came to me, they were like, well, James, I don't have the capital.
Yeah.
I don't have the liquidity. So what do we have to do? We fix their credit. Then after their credit is fixed, we help them get the funding. And then from there, we build up their e-commerce stores for them. So exactly what you said.
So walk me through, how does someone that's listening in, how do they start building their credit? Because, they probably know a little bit of stuff like pay your stuff on time.
Yeah.
But, other than that, they really don't know too much about the ins and outs to build a good credit score.
Yeah, man, I'm glad you brought that up because when it comes to credit, there's a lot of misconceptions. As you said, most people believe it's just paying your bills on time. And
Right.
although that is very, very important, there's various different factors. For example, age and history, right? Like how long have you have had established credit for? How credit worthy are you? For example, a lot of times we have really, really young individuals, like 19, 20 years old. They come to us. They're like, James, I have a 750 credit score, man. Can I get like 100,000 in funding? And I'm just like, that's not how it works. And then
Yeah.
the reason is because, you look at their credit report and they only have like one opened account on there. So what happens is the banks and lenders will kind of look at them like, all right, well, you don't really have much history, man. So I can't really give you much.
Yeah.
So it's really important to understand that, yes, you have to pay your bills on time. You should, avoid being delinquent as often as possible. But aside from that, make sure you have established trade lines. Make sure you have history. Make sure, if you need to get a secured credit card just to build up that payment history, make sure that you're doing so because there's 5 factors to your credit score, not just one.
Yeah.
So in order to have that perfect, juicy credit portfolio, you need to make sure all 5 of those factors are hitting on point.
When you said established trade lines, for those that don't know what that is, explain that.
Yeah, so trade lines essentially is another word for an account. It's like a fancy term in the credit world for an account. So, for example, a lot of people, maybe like when they're young, and let's just say their parents have good credit, they're like, hey, mom and dad, could you maybe throw me onto your credit card as an authorized user?
Right.
And what happens when they do that is, the all of the positive payment history from that person's account, let's just say from mom and dad's account, will go ahead and report onto your credit report. So there's various different ways you could do that. If your mom and dad don't have good credit, unfortunately, then you can also there's different ways that you could purchase trade lines. We help clients with that as well. But those trade lines basically help you establish that age. So if you had a credit card that was open, let's just say in 2015, which is what 8 years. We're in 2023. Forgot for a second, but we're in eight. That's an 8-year-old credit card. And let's just say it's got like a $10,000 credit limit. You add that onto someone's credit report, and that's literally gonna like probably boost their score by like 20, 30 points and give them that good history so that banks and lenders will determine them as credit worthy.
Yeah. Is there such a thing as getting too many trade lines? And because it wouldn't it kind of mess up the age and the amounts and things like that, or no?
Um, no, not really, because that's so funny. Because I actually just made a video about this on my Instagram. The more credit cards you have, actually, the better. And most people think like it's the opposite.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. If you have like 30 credit cards and you're delinquent on 25 of them, that's not
Yeah, yeah.
necessarily the best way to go about it. But as long as all of those credit cards have had good payment history and they have solid age, then honestly, the more trade lines you have, the better. It's
Yeah.
more data for the banks to be able to pull from when it comes to applications.
That's true. And so this is just for personal, right? We're just talking about personal.
Yeah.
In order to get funding for, e-commerce accounts or investments or anything else,
Sure.
do you transition from personal to business
Uh,
funding?
so we do a combination of helping our clients and investors get both personal and business funding. A big myth is like, with business credit, there's, you got to get like net 30 accounts, next 60 accounts and things of that nature. But at the end of the day, if you're like brand new to business credit, what they're going to do is they're going to pull your personal credit when it
Yeah.
comes to these applications. So the best thing that you could do for yourself, if you're out there listening to this, is to build a really, really strong personal credit profile. And then from there, as time goes on, you obviously you get an LLC and things of that nature. You're going to be able to slowly access that business funding by creating those banking relationships with those specific institutions.
So let's say someone's delinquent, right?
Yeah,
They probably have a horrible credit score. They just, they forget to pay. They don't have like alerts or whatever.
sure.
How realistic is it to kind of get to a really good credit score, and in how fast?
Very realistic, as long as they take the necessary steps. That's the key. Like
Yeah.
a lot of people, they just kind of expect their credit with a snap of a finger to just go from a 550 to a 800, and it just doesn't work like that. So if you take the necessary steps and you work with somebody that's experienced to help you fix your credit, it's very possible. With regards to your second question of how long it would take, it really depends. How many delinquencies do you have? How many
Yeah.
collections do you have? Like how messed up is your credit profile. But generally speaking, for us, when we work with our clients, they start seeing results in like the first 35 to be exact business days, because that's how long they take to update everything. But generally between 90 and 120 days, their credit is swept clean.
Yeah. I've heard something before, and I don't know if it's the case, but I've heard that if you have collections,
Yeah.
right? And I'm pretty sure you already know the question that's coming up. But basically, if you have collections, and is it better to pay off the collection because sometimes it won't get off your credit history? In fact, like, yeah, I've heard it. I've heard it's bad if you do so. Like, what's the information on that?
Yeah, man. A lot of controversy around this. A lot of controversy. I've actually gotten like a lot of hate on this. When I made a video on Instagram, I was like, you should never pay your collections.
Yeah.
Because here's why. When you pay your collections, what happens is on your credit report, they're gonna do is they're gonna update it to a paid collections. It's not gonna come off of your account.
Yeah.
Right. So watch this. If I'm gonna go apply for an American Express credit card or a Chase credit card today, and they're going to pull my credit report, they're still going to see that collections there. It's just going to show as paid.
Right.
So what should you do? Well, you should dispute it and get it completely swept and removed off of your credit report. So then that way, when the banks and lenders go to check your credit, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
That account is removed. But you pay it. I just had a client use 15 grand of his own hard-earned cash to pay collections, and his credit score the next month dropped 30 points. He's like,
But
I wish I met you before. I'm like, me
yeah,
too.
yeah. Is it
You know?
because does it auto update like if you do pay it off, like and it just kind of comes back into the scene, or how does that work?
When you pay it off, so if let's just say ABC debt collector, right? That's
Yeah.
the name, whatever. If ABC debt collector is like threatening you and all this stuff, they're calling you, sending you letters, hey, pay me, pay me, pay me. Otherwise, I'm gonna, ruin your credit. So what happens is as soon as you pay the debt collector, all they do is they go to Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, they're snitches,
Yeah.
and they say, hey, he paid.
Yeah.
But it was still a collections. He was still delinquent
Right.
for 180 days. So regardless of the matter, we're still going to leave it on his credit report.
Yeah.
It's just how it works.
Can you negotiate that though? Can you say like, hey, if I pay this off, will you remove it?
I've seen a lot of my clients try to do that.
Yeah.
And they try to come to what we call, it's like a settlement, right?
Right.
And then they're like, okay, like instead of paying the 15 grand, you could pay like 8. Okay, cool. And they get tricked into that. And guess what? Still on their credit report.
Yeah.
So like the best thing I could say is advice to everyone out there, like don't pay your collections.
Yeah. And you can correct me if I'm wrong again, but like collections, once it's there, doesn't somebody else buy it off? Like they buy it off from the original debt collector?
Yeah, so that's what happens. So again, let's just say American Express. Let's use Amex as an example, right?
Yeah.
I'm delinquent with Amex. It's Amex in their efforts tried to collect a debt from me, and I'm ignoring them. So what happens is they will send that account to a third-party debt collector. The third-party debt collector will purchase it from Amex, and then now what happens is if you decide to pay, which you shouldn't, they essentially like split the profits. It's like so messed up. Like
What the heck?
like Amex is saying, well, I can't get the debt from James Jiang.
Yeah.
So what I'm gonna do is I need your help. You're a debt collector. And then whatever we get, cool. You get like 70%, we get 30%, et cetera, et cetera. It's
Yeah.
all a business, man. It's so screwed up, like how it works. It's insane.
That is crazy. That is crazy.
It's insane.
Okay. So this is good. This is good. And then kind of moving on to the e-commerce side. So
Sure.
like, how long have you been doing that?
Going on about almost 3 years now.
Yeah, 3 years.
3 years now. Yeah.
And is it because you're utilizing your credit? You found that like, okay, you can get a lot of funding up front and be able to use that, and you just kind of found e-commerce as like, the vice to kind of put that stuff away, or yeah, or how did you kind of get into
So
e-commerce?
yeah, so it was actually like a really interesting like scenario. So one of my friends, he had like because what we do for e-commerce is we do Facebook. We utilize the Facebook platform, like Facebook dropshipping. I call it Facebook automation.
Yeah.
That's a service that we offer. And it all started back in 2020, right around COVID time,
Yep.
where all the storefronts were shut down and, you couldn't go anywhere. So what boomed? E-commerce. Everyone was shopping online. And he was like, hey, man, why don't we try drop shipping on Facebook? I'm like, what? You could sell stuff on Facebook? How does that even work? He's like, yeah, Facebook Marketplace and Facebook Shops, etc. I was like, cool. So I was like, okay, like let's try it. What do I have to lose, right? He had experience in it, and so we ran it up. My store did like pretty well. I was making like good passive income to like cover my car payments and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then from there, I kind of was like, wow, this is definitely something that we can help other people, establish another stream of income so that they can, have the same experience as me, cover their car payment, cover their insurance, et cetera, et
Right.
cetera.
Is
So
it
that's
this?
how that
Is it the same as like the other ones where it's like Shopify and things like that? But you're just like the main place that you're doing it on is Facebook.
Yeah. So the concept is essentially like the same. It's pretty similar. Like drop shipping is drop shipping.
Right,
You
right.
do your product research, you order the item from the supplier, ship it to the customer's front doorstep. So the concept is essentially the same. However, the reason why I personally like the Facebook platform is the fact that, for example, a lot of people were doing Amazon, but their stores were getting suspended.
Yeah, or like the Walmart stores, all of those guys.
The Walmart store is the worst because with the Walmart, I had a friend who had a Walmart store. They held his payouts for like 100, and I think he said 117 days, and they just didn't pay him out. So it's like he had like 3 grand worth of payouts, and they just held it from him.
Yeah.
So I was like, what? Like, there's got to be a way around this, and how do I do this without going into the Amazon and Walmart world where it's already so saturated? And I found Facebook, and because it's not many people know about it right now, it's kind of new. Like
Yeah.
I always tell people, it's like Bitcoin in 2008. It's like really new.
Yeah.
That's kind of why like I like the platform better. Lower risk, and honestly higher margins from what I've experienced.
Is it also possible to get your Facebook store shut down, or?
Absolutely, it happens. It's more so not shut down. It's more so like a restriction.
Uh-huh.
Like, hey, we've restricted your marketplace for unusual activity, and generally it's because maybe like our team is like logging in from a different location without
Right.
using a VPN, et cetera, et cetera. But we send off an appeal, and within like 48 to 72 hours, max maybe like 4 or 5 days, the store comes back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, that's crazy. You're right. I have never heard of that. Like,
Yeah.
I've only heard of the other stuff. I've heard of eBay, I've heard of Shopify, Amazon, Walmart, but doing it on Facebook is like, like I had no clue.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. We're fresh in the game, man. It's honestly not that many people know about it. Like I said, people didn't even know you could sell on Facebook.
Yeah.
I was
yeah.
like, that's why I'm like, good space to be in.
Yeah,
for sure.
because to me, I'm thinking like, well, you can do the local stuff, right?
Yep.
Facebook local stuff, and
Yep.
you find people post on that all the time. But
Yep.
what you're doing is like you're allowing people that they click shipping like as well, and they
Yep.
find a bunch of stuff, and that's kind of how it rolls, right?
Yeah, essentially. Yeah. So like a lot of people will like reach out to us and they'll kind of want like, hey, can I just pick this up locally? And we're like, sorry, we don't do local meetups.
Right.
And then we'll kind of get their address. We'll ship from the supplier directly to their front doorstep. Same concept as any other drop shipping platform. Just the risk tolerance is a lot lower, and margins, like I said earlier, better.
So for people that are wondering about like price and things like that, and you don't have to get into it, but how like is it around the similar cost of like the other stores? Yeah, practically. Okay.
Yeah, practically.
Cool.
Yeah. Profit splits and all that stuff. It's generally the same. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. And another question. This is a personal question for me.
Sure.
Like, if you do end up kind of moving forward with that, is there like yearly subscriptions to keep the store?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so similar, basically.
Yeah, similar
Yeah.
based. I mean, it's I'm fully transparent. I mean, it's an upfront service charge, an upfront investment for us to kind of build out the stores and purchase all the softwares, things of that nature. And then from there, on a monthly basis, there's a profit split between the investor and our company. And then on a yearly basis, there's just like an annual subscription, like a renewal
Yeah.
type fee. And then the investor has a choice to just continue running their store, or they can shut it down whenever they want. We're
Yeah.
like really flexible with that.
Yeah. No, that
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense. And I think in your business model, like, because you're doing, because do you normally, and I don't know if this is the case, but do you
Sure.
normally like have people that you help, you fix their credit, or you help them get funding, and then boom, it leads right into your other thing, which is the e-commerce stuff.
It's so funny how you mentioned that, because that's probably, I would say, like 90% of how um, our prospects kind of work their way down our funnel.
Yeah.
So it's funny because when people reach out to us, they always want a Facebook store,
Yeah.
right? Because they're
Yeah.
like, I mean, who doesn't want to make hands-free income, right? Without having to do anything. And then they're like, okay, well, let's just say they don't make a lot of money. Their salaries at their jobs aren't paying them much. Oof, James, I don't have enough upfront capital. I don't have even the liquidity to have the inventory. What do I do? Well, let's take a look at your credit report.
Yeah.
Okay, you got solid credit? We can get your funding. If you don't have solid credit, all right, we'll fix your credit first. Once your credit is fixed, then we'll get your funding, and then we'll get you the Facebook store. So it's like a
Yeah.
a three-step process. Yeah.
Do you guys charge a percentage for the funding that you guys receive?
We
Give
do.
them?
Yeah. It's like we call it a success fee. We charge about 10% for the
Yeah.
funding for whatever amount we get the client approved for. If you don't get approved for anything, then we work for free.
Yeah.
Essentially.
No, that's
Yeah.
cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
And then what about the other side? When you're helping them fix the credit stuff, I'm
Yeah.
assuming that's not there's no success fee there because you're just kind of helping them build it.
Yeah. With regards to the actual like credit repair side, it's just so that all three of those services that we offer are different services, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes we'll have people come to us and they strictly just want funding,
Right,
or
right.
they just want credit. But James, I don't want a Facebook store. I just want to be able to get a lower interest rate on my mortgage, so I
Yeah.
just want credit repair. But credit repair just has its own investment, its own service charge up front, and then we'll help them fix their credit. Add the trade lines, do whatever is necessary, however long it takes. We fight for them till the end, and then they work their way down the pipeline with the funding, and then with the e-commerce stores.
Nice, dude. Nice.
Yeah.
So what's the future look like for you guys? Are you guys going to continue doing the e-com? Or are you guys moving on to something else as well? Like, tell me about that.
Yeah, man, we're in it for the long run. And one thing that I told myself when I was gonna get into the e-commerce and credit repair industry was that I noticed that the churn rate for these types of companies was so high. Like, you see these e-com companies, like especially for Amazon, it's like, all right, cool, they hire all these influencers with millions of followers, they
Right.
make a crap ton of money, and then like in a year, holy crap, where are they? They disappeared. So we're in there for the long run. We want to change the automation game. Like, we want to show people that, hey, like, we can actually help you make money. We're not just going to scam you. We're here until the end. And we're looking to this year I'm really focusing on scaling this company to as close to 8 figures as possible, and just keep pushing at it.
Yeah. No, that's good, dude. I
Yeah.
I, I think a lot of people need, like, especially the credit stuff, because like you said, that's a big kind of thing in here.
Yeah.
And I think especially for entrepreneurs as well, like, at least for me, when I got started, like, I didn't know about taxes, I didn't know about credit. Like, all I knew was cash.
Me neither.
Cash was king, and like I could pay whatever I needed because I had the money. But until you need to get a house, or until you need to get like an apartment or something else, it's like, it doesn't matter if you have like a lot of money in your account. Like, if you can't show them that you have a credit history or something like that, you're kind of just locked out from the world.
No, 100%. I mean, I see it every day, man. Like, I had a client, and I use these examples because like we hear about this all the time. Like, I had a client, she literally had, I think it was like $1.3 million just like chilling in her checking account. And she's like, James, I can't even get an Amex. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, yeah, your credit score is out of 500.
Yeah.
So I say, people say cash is king. I say credit is power.
Yeah.
Without it, you really can't you don't have something that we call leverage.
Right.
And without leverage, you can't, there's a lot of big opportunities that you could be missing out on here, especially in America.
Kind of like with the credit hacks too, right? You
Exactly.
use points, you do
Oh,
all
yeah.
of that type of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, for example, one of my favorite places to travel to is Dubai.
Mhm.
Have you ever been to Dubai, by the way?
No.
You haven't. Okay. So you got to go, by the way. It's like freaking awesome if you're down for it. But like, every single time I fly in Emirates I'm from New York, so
Yeah.
JFK to Dubai, If you go on first class, like that's a $20,000 flight,
Yep.
round trip. Sometimes even like 25,000. I'm like, listen, man, I'm not paying that.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I make all right money, man. I'm not paying that. So with the credit hacks, with all the points and the systems, it really, allows even the average everyday person to be able to travel the world, premium, stay at 5-star hotels, without really having to spend their own money. Which honestly, it's just it's super cool. That's one of like the greatest things I love about credit.
Yeah, 100%. So
Yeah.
if the people are listening, if they're interested and they want to work with you, or they're interested in the credit hacks or funding, whatever it might be, where can people find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So with regards to finding me, my most active platform is Instagram. So you can find me. It's James underscore Jiang underscore underscore. So I'll spell it out for people because my last name is hard to pronounce, but JAMES underscore JIANG underscore underscore. And then, from there we have links that you can apply and submit an application to go ahead and see if you qualify to work with us.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me, brother. Appreciate it.